congreso internacional organizado por la Facultad de Ciencias Administrativas. Nos es de mucho agrado presentar el día de hoy a la docente Ana María Maruri, que nos acompaña con el tema Perceptions of the Use of Virtual Platforms in the English Language Learning Process at the University Level in Times of COVID-19. Empezamos.
Okay, good afternoon, respectful audience. First, I want to thank University of Guayaquil for giving me the opportunity to present this topic to share my research work. Also, I want to thank all the attendants that are here. My topic, perceptions of the use of virtual platforms in the English language learning process at the university level in times of COVID-19. To give you a quick overview, this is the sequence to be followed: the introduction, and with the background, purpose, justification of objectives of the study, design method, research fieldwork, data collection, the results, conclusions, and references. Let's begin with the first part. Learning, like everything in human life, was threatened with the emergence of the COVID-19 pandemic. At a global level, a great uncertainty arose when a very difficult situation to be solved was envisioned to the requirements of social isolation. Humans surprisingly received a pandemic that forced everyone to seek the best immediate response so as not to paralyze their lives. For this, all sectors had to find solutions to overcome this unforeseen situation to continue operating. That's how the use of development of the virtual platforms was strengthened as the immediate response to a vertiginous emergency. The way the humans work, teach, and learn, of course, changed totally, 360 degrees. Where the education sector also looked for mechanisms to be able to face the inconveniences with determination and poise as the days went by, in such a way that the almost 220 million students around the world left the classroom and moved to virtuality. The increasing integration of information and communication technologies in education implies investigating how and under what circumstances and conditions these tools are convenient enough to support students in learning a second language. That is why in about 60% of countries, the Ministry of Education created its own platform to display educational content for teachers and students in primary and secondary education, according to World Economic Forum. And it could be said also at the university level. The situation that encompasses education has had many conflicts due to the sudden changes with the required use of technology. Fortunately, due to the use of these platforms, it has allowed both students and teachers to perform learning in a way to interact and accomplish in a very good way and accomplish what it is expected, learning or knowledge acquisition. Hold on a moment. Okay. So the educational institutions were forced at all levels to suddenly create virtual learning environments. It was an abrupt wake-up call that people had to face. Therefore, there came the time to acknowledge that human beings are designed to look for sudden solutions despite the challenges, which really have become opportunities and future directions. Lessons learned from the pandemic can be used as a way to visualize the purpose of education and its future. There is no doubt that for the development of a country, knowledge and education will lead us to become new leaders. If we want a change, we must start with ourselves. And learning another language gives a person the plus that globalized society needs to succeed. As a matter of fact, the English language has become a useful tool in all areas of human knowledge, becoming an opportunity to acquire a job, that's knowledge, good job, with applying seeking information to develop activities, or just for practice or exercising language skills or prior to an exam as a reinforcement. The English language learning process then creates a unique interaction link that seeks the benefit of the students using virtual platforms that are their helpful tools for knowledge development. Actually, this research work is based on my strong belief that virtuality will be the new environment for learning. Virtual platforms as important resources for teachers so that they can teach these foreign language to their students with the use of methodological tools virtually. Some causes, however, prevent the appropriate language learning by the students of the different modules. Many times learners feel unmotivated and choose to withdraw, or in fact, before enrolling, they start consulting with which teacher is going to dictate a specific module. And then a series of factors influence the learning of the English language. The most relevant factors that have been identified are incorrect use of strategies in the classroom by the teacher, limited help in reviewing tasks, lack of information on how to use the text and technological resources at the beginning of the module, ineffective behavior of the teacher in the classroom and outside it, limited monitoring of student learning in the virtual classroom, among others. Finally, I can say that consequently, there comes a time when it is necessary to start rethinking education by empowering individuals, provided them with appropriate educational tools, competences, as skills, to develop their skills. To accomplish this, it's important that learners step by step acquire language and become proficient in the target language from the beginning levels, which makes them develop their skills much better. Education is a right of people throughout their lives and an inexcusable duty of the state. And every citizen has the right to education, which will promote both at the personal and community level. That is why it is justified this study, and the objective of this work is to share the learner's perception as well as to demonstrate the causes of this difficulty, for which information was sought according to the investigated topic. This study aims to promote the value of the relevant help to develop English language skills. This research highlights the multiple directions adult learners' emotions can take and the significance of learners' interpretations in relation to the online learning methodology. The issues of social and emotional communication in the exploration of adult learners' emotions for the context of online learning. The contents moving forward with the design method, research field work, and data collection. We apply a Google form online survey for students. And this approach chosen for this research was quantitative and based on a non-experimental design with a descriptive perspective and correlational methodology. 7 questions were requested to 90 students from Module 8 of Faculties Administrative Sciences to determine the perception of the use of virtual platforms in the process of English language learning. Tics. To prove the content of the questions, we resorted to the validation strategy by 3 experts in the field of technologies for education and to recognize the dependence between the perception of the respondents about the use of ICT, or TICs in Spanish, and the learning of the English language, applying statistics analysis. Therefore, a structural survey was designed, submitted to students who were in contact with the new class system, with which the reliability and content validity of this instrument was assessed. The results. Analyzing the results of the questionnaire applied to the students, it stands out that the first question, the 30% of students tried to get help, the use of social networks. When they try to get help, the 30%, while the other 30% have the research of information, and the difference would be 20% to use social networks to make friends, and the other 20% to talk with their friends. The questions, the graphics here, the graph here specifically has been designed in Spanish so that students also can, and everybody can understand the results. On the second question, when students were asked to share their criteria about which one is better for learning English, it was really interesting. Similarly, among the responses, the result obtained from the students stand out with a 40% that consider it's better to learn from the virtual platform. The 30% with the teacher, the professor, while the 15% of the students say that both between the teacher, the virtual platform, and the last 15%, none of the above. The third question that was posed to students, asking them or wanting to know, I use platforms too. It was about why they use platforms for, and the 40% of the students only use it for English exercises, while the 30% of the students use for homework. And from the remaining 30%, 15% only use it for fun, and 15% of the students do not use at all. The information received in the fourth question, how useful is the information that you find on the internet? They mentioned that the 35% of the students that they find is really quite fairly useful. The 30% say that is very useful. The 25% just useful, and the rest, just that 10% mention that they correspond that it is useless, all the information that they find on internet pages, on links. There is the information received on the survey regarding the useful of internet media. Most of the students always use the internet media, while with the 40%, while sometimes the 30%, very often the 25%, and never use the media with the 5%. So it seems that students are really engaged with the online education. The opinion regarding to students' perceptions of whether they consider that using ICT makes it easier for them to understand the language, it is shown that the 35%, as well as the both, sometimes on others 35%, they say that always, okay? And with the 30%, very often, never the 15%. And the last question that was related directly to English learning and practice, what consideration students have about using, for example, visual aids and flashcards, for example, learning vocabulary. It was a kind of interesting response, because they believe that the use of flashcard improves, especially their vocabulary learning on the internet, with always 30%, sometimes 30%, the rest of the students 20%, very often, and never 20%. Perhaps these 20% of the students, they do not know how to take advantage of online links or virtual platforms to learn. The conclusions. According to what has been exposed, it is really evident that in accordance with the previously formulated questions, it has been taken into consideration that the use of these platforms is quite useful, since the students interact with the teacher about learning the English language. Also, with the implementation of this modality, the English language acquisition in the teaching and learning process has demonstrated that for reaching the desired results, definitely, it's necessary to work as much as possible with the platforms and take advantages of the richness they offer. Another conclusion is the development of new ICTs has been very beneficial for students' learning process, since they serve to interact with the teacher when there are some gaps in knowledge. This gives the opportunity to be investigated through the internet, translators of languages, or other media resources. Finally, the use of social networks would not only serve for students' leisure or fun, amusement, but would also be a tool to help provide better learning in the English language. The reference post for this research work, we have, a couple of my studies, my articles published, and some other authors. And I hope my speech has given you a kind of a clear idea of how online learning is working with human beings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maruri, for your speech. Now, I introduce you Mr. Bruaño, who is going to start a round of questions.
Yes, Ana María Maruri.
Yes.
I want to congratulate you by this presentation.
Thank you so much.
I hope will be another kind of this presentation in the future, because I think we need more English presentation for students, teachers of the Faculty of Business Administration, the University of Guayaquil. You decide Michelle Mogollón yesterday talked in English, and you are the second one in this Congress that talk in English. And I think you are the pioneers.
Fernando, you need to be closer to the micro, please.
Oh, thank you very much, Delia. In this moment, you can hear me better?
Much better. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I repeat, yesterday, another teacher, Michelle Mogollón, talked in English, his conference, and you are the second one. So I think you are the pioneers, pioneros, giving English talks in our conference, because the rest is in Spanish. So I think we the teachers can do more of this type of English talk and conference in English. So I think I will ask you in the future help for another.
It will be my pleasure. It will be my pleasure, indeed.
Okay. At last, I would ask you something about your research.
I listen to you.
What is the sample? What is the sample of your study?
Wow, that's a good question. That's a good question. 90 students. It has been just 90 students because I have had last cycle only 90 students to the last level, the last module 8. I would like it to be a wider number of students, but more students, but only 2 groups of module 8 I was teaching, and that was the reduced group. But with that kind of perceptions that they are in the last step of their learning, I consider that they realize that virtual platforms are really helpful. They get, it took a lot for them to get used, but after 4 semesters working online, I guess they have been able to understand that that's the way. It's a good way to learn and to practice English, of course.
And my last question: what do you think will happen when we will return to presentiality next year? What will happen with the results of the virtual tools? What will be the future in English teaching in our faculty?
Okay, well, let me tell you that, as a matter of fact, with this new or excellent tool that is the platforms, teachers must be committed to work as a kind of dual way with the platforms as well as in the classrooms. My proposal for the university in the thesis project for my PhD is precisely this, about forming or creating the community of learning of practices in the virtual platform with the kind of clubs, English clubs, so that students who are at the last step, the last module, are really able to be prepared for the last exam that is a requirement for before they finish their career, their major.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ana María Maruri, muchas gracias.
Thanks a lot.
Me ha gustado mucho tu presentación y pues ahora le doy paso a Delia, otra compañera, para que continúe. Gracias, Ana María.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Gracias a todos. Muchas gracias, Miss Maruri. Concluimos aquí, pero no se vayan porque vienen muchas más conferencias magistrales. Seguimos en este 4º Congreso Internacional de la Facultad de Ciencias Administrativas.